Now, okay, so I just wanted to ask you a few questions about. Well, first off, can you please introduce yourself? I guess.
Yes, my name is Mark Hornsby, and I'm a sergeant with the Harnett County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to ask you some questions about how it was living in the 20th century and how it kind of differs from life today. So, first question I wanted to ask you was is in your childhood, how do you think your childhood is different from somebody's childhood, like my childhood, for example, who be growing up today?
Um, Things were a lot more simple. Um, a lot of things were better, some things were not. So we didn't worry about things like the social media. You didn't have that, or the internet, or telephones, or any of that stuff. It was a simpler time where you created your own fun. Growing up working on farms and fishing and hunting and playing sports a lot. Where now, I think some things are better for people your age now, but some things are harder. I think y'all are definitely exposed to more stuff, um, um, a better education. I feel like, but also some stressful things like I never worried about gun violence. Nobody had pistols. We never thought about gun violence at school or anything like that. That's something that's very real for people your age right now. Or bullying on the internet or social media. Things like that.
Yes, sir. And you said you grew up on a farm?
I grew up working on farms in the summer. Yes, sir.
So, can you kind of tell me what that was like, just working on a farm, especially in that time period, I guess?
Well, growing up, from what I would say from fifth grade on through high school, farming was the biggest industry around here. So if tobacco and things were not finished by the summer, they would delay school until it was finished. And you had a lot of rural people, a lot of kids, mostly in the where we're from here, worked on the farms. We worked and bought our school clothes, and in the fall, before school started, we'd buy our own clothes and things. We learned how to do a lot of things, like practically we were driving vehicles in the sixth, seventh, and eighth grades, but it was very not much traffic on the roads. Very, very rural areas.
Yes, sir. Um, okay, so just kind of asking you more about your childhood, like who would you say was your role models when you were younger?
Um, Definitely, I was raised by my grandmother, so definitely she was most definitely, and some guys in the community, that were the leaders in the community.
Yes, sir. Okay, and moving on to your education, um, was everybody in your family able to attend school? And if they were, to what levels did they attend?
Yeah, everybody in my I didn't enjoy school a whole lot. The only thing I enjoyed about school was reading and history. The rest of it I didn't really focus on. But for giving you example, when I was in school, even up through high school, you could nobody even paid any attention to how many days you missed.
Mm.
And if you were a kid that had attention deficit and things like that, it went unchecked. So it was hard, you know. Certainly, I was one of them kids, so you didn't get any extra help for that. They just pretty much will give you something to do to keep you out of their way. Which probably goes on a lot now too.
Yes, sir. And would you say that's one of the things that you think is better nowadays for people growing up? That they get more individualized attention for their.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. More attention is put on somebody that has some struggles.
Yes, sir. Um, so moving on to historical events from the time, um, what wars do you specifically remember that happened at the time?
Very, very, Vietnam, very clear. Vietnam War, a lot of people, you know, we even had troops, I think, in Vietnam up till 1975. which would have put me in about the maybe fifth or sixth grade, seventh grade maybe. But I remember a lot of the guys going then, and I remember it, was not going in the military. Even when I was in high school, was not something. It was not, a lot of people. It was not honorable like it. It was honorable, but like it was not popular to go in the military then. It was not looked at as a career. Definitely because of the draft in Vietnam. But I remember a lot of them guys that went to Vietnam and came back with some problems. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir. And you remember any other significant wars, like maybe the Cold War, something like that?
Oh, most definitely. I remember us worried about the nuclear stuff with Russia and things like that. That was something we even practiced in the hallway, like kind of like you do the tornado drills. And I remember that was very big with the Soviet Union when I was in, I would say, elementary school all through high school.
Yes, sir. And I mean, I'm sure that it's different today because now a lot of the conflicts that you see, well, I mean, not worldwide, there are obviously some combat conflicts, but a lot of the conflicts that you see nowadays aren't really like combat. They're more kind of fought diplomatically, I guess, through trade and things like that.
Yeah, I see that, even the cyber part of it, but for sure. But getting back, of course, I remember the Kuwait War and the Middle East wars too. Very good, but for sure, they use a lot more techniques now than just combat.
Yes, sir. How was your life changed by the wars that you or people that you know were involved in?
That didn't. I can't say I was directly affected by that. As far as anyone in my family and the war, the Vietnam War.
Okay. Were you, or would you say that you were impacted at all by racial segregation?
Oh, for sure. That's a good topic because my first grade year, schools were still segregated. My classes were all white. And then 1968 was when you had the schools were desegregated. And the building, the school you're interviewing me in right now was the African American school. And so I very clearly remember it did not impact me as much because I grew up in a very diverse setting where some children that might not, white or black, have been exposed to each other.
Yes, sir.
So this school you're in here right now, when you go through the South and South Hornet and this school, which is closed now, you see the flat roofs. You can always tell because when they told them they had to build schools for minorities, they build simple flat roof schools like Johnsonville elementary schools, and the white schools would have nicer pitched roofs and things like that. And also they would have gyms and auditorium where if a black school, African school did have a gym, it also had it would have a stage there for multi-purpose. And definitely people were not treated equal. Even I would say, even through my high school, I could things were not equal, and things are a lot better now, but they're not perfect now. But definitely back then it was not. Work-wise or in school. Yeah. Does that help answer that some?
Yes, sir.
I remember Dr. Martin Luther King. I remember him being assassinated. Just vaguely remember it because of all the protests and the uproars.
Yes,
things
sir.
Like that.
What inventions do you think, and this can be in the 20th century or recently, do you think have changed your life for the better?
Wow, that's a good question. I think things, not just invention, but I think things like healthcare in some ways are better now, technology, but also I think things like the internet definitely gave us access to a world beyond what we imagined it was like. So I would definitely say that's one of them.
Yes, sir. And I'm sure it's different because for me, like, ever since I've been alive, the internet has been
That's right.
a very prevalent thing. So I wouldn't know what it was like to live before the internet and then see it kind of rise. But for you, you were around before the internet and now you see it.
Absolutely. Oh, I remember the very first Apple's computers, and I remember it was a big thing if you were able to afford encyclopedias. Families saved up a lot of money to buy things like encyclopedias, and like I say, I do not even think I imagined what a cell phone was when I was your age. I remember the first phones I ever did see was like bag phones and things like that. But then again, some negative things. We didn't sit around on a phone like not only people your age do, but adults, including myself, are guilty of spending too much time.
Yes, sir. Okay. How do you think popular culture has changed since I guess like the 20th century, like clothing, music, recreation, like things you do for fun? How do you think that's all changed since?
Really, a lot of that stuff is really, a lot of those things are really, really, you see styles leave and come back in style, music, and, blue jeans and t-shirts. Just, that was a big thing for us. And Converse tennis shoes, if you could afford Converse tennis shoes. And so you see things like that come back in style.
Yes, sir.
And music also. A lot of, like my daughter, she's 22, and she likes a lot of the same music I like and things like that.
Okay.
But sports, and also sports, we did the same thing: baseball, basketball, football, the same things.
Yeah. And just to kind of wrap up the interview here, I just want to ask one last question, and that is, what advice would you give to future generations?
Definitely, education. Um, you know, really, really working hard in school so you can really prepare yourself for the future, because you did not have to, used to, we could get a lot of jobs without, you could make a lot of money doing things that you didn't have to have a higher education for. But now you all are going to have to figure out, whether it be the trade school or college, how to make a lot of money now compared to what we had to make money. Then also just focus on treating everybody fair, positive things. But yeah, big thing is education, whether it be the trade school or the 4-year school.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, that's going to be the end of the interview. Thank you for giving me your time to ask these questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.